Sanskrit is a mystical language. It's very important so that we can properly recite mantras for the desired effect, that we learn the basic Sanskrit sounds. We as English speakers don't encounter a lot of the Sanskrit sounds in our Western language. Sanskrit, for example, has 4 T letters, yet none of these 4 sounds occurs in English. Each one is a little bit different in the way an English speaker would pronounce the T sound. The Sanskrit alphabet has 16 vowels which relate to the 16 phases of the moon and the mind. The Sanskrit alphabet has 36 consonant letters. Each of these relates to one of the 36 tattvas of the Shaiva Siddhanta philosophy. There are not 51 letters, there are not 54 letters, but precisely 52. When we add additional sounds, we don't know what effects we will get. The Sanskrit alphabet is sometimes called the Varna Mala, which means a garland of colors. Varna means color. Each of the Sanskrit sounds has its own distinct astral color. For someone who has the capacity to look with the mystical third eye, each of the Sanskrit sounds will create a different color of spiritual light. As a matter of fact, this is how the ancient sages named things in the Sanskrit language. When the sage would want to name a given thing, like a tree, he would look at it with his mystical vision, and he would see the astral color of the thing. With the basic building blocks, the Sanskrit alphabets, he would recreate that light with sound. This is why mantra practice has a powerful effect. Each time we chant the Sanskrit sounds, we create the physical substance on the spiritual plane, on the astral plane. But for this we must be chanting the proper sounds, and we must be chanting with great attention, awareness, focus. If a person chants a mantra and there are many thoughts in the mind, this will detract from the energy of the mantra being invoked by that practice. Pronunciation is very important, and for this we must, as Westerners in particular, we must take the time to learn the 52 sounds of the Sanskrit Varnamala. Without this, it's not possible to chant the mantras properly. Other mystical traditions are aware of this as well. The Native Americans have done much chanting practice throughout history, and many of the tribes of Native American people teach their chanters to be meticulous about learning and pronouncing the correct sounds in their chants. There's a story of one Native American healer who was in his 3rd day of a chanting discipline when he made an error in his pronunciation. By this error, it is said that his body became paralyzed. He went to many elders of different tribes, and they didn't know what to do for him. Eventually it was recommended to him that he go to India, where he met some saint there in India who was able to do some work to heal him and bring motion back to his body. after that experience, understandably, he was very hesitant to approach any but the most basic chanting practices. Another story which helps describe the importance of proper pronunciation when practicing a mantra is of a student of mine. When I first met this student, he was very interested in chanting the Mahamrityunjaya mantra of Lord Shiva, the victor over death. They say that this mantra has power to lead a person to liberation, and it has the power to avert disease and untimely death. When the student asked me for my blessings to chant this mantra, I told him, as my guru had told me, that when starting a practice, it's not wise to use the mantras of the deities which stimulate the higher chakras. It's better to get the energies balanced at the base of the spine in Muladhara chakra, using mantras of Ganapati and different grounding deities to help a person shut off the doors to the lower chakras below the spine. When beginning a practice, if a person rushes into the mantras of a deity like Shiva, who sits at the Sahasrara chakra at the top of the head, this can be a powerful experience. It can stimulate a huge and uncomfortable purging process for which the new student may not be adequately prepared. So I recommended to him instead that he learn one Ganesha mantra, the Ganapati Upanishad, which he did and practiced for many months. In time he asked me again, do you think it's a good idea for me to chant the Mahamrityunjaya mantra of Shiva? And eventually he asked a few more times. Eventually I said, okay, go ahead. I said, let's try it out, do just a few times. 11 is a number sacred to Lord Shiva. They say there's 11 Rudras. So I said, do 11 times per day. So he did this practice for a week, 2 weeks maybe. And he came to me. He said, Swamiji, I know that you've taught me well that the mantra will bring up the layers of subconscious, and that it may not always be a pleasurable or comfortable experience, as it helps reveal the samskaras of the subconscious mind, that it will purge all the karmas. He said, Swamiji, I just want to ask you, because I don't know if that's what's happening as I chant this mantra or something else. He said, Swamiji, whenever I say this mantra, I feel like I'm dying. I feel like the mantra is killing me. And so I looked at him and I said, how are you saying this mantra? And so he told me how he was saying it. He said, Triambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urva rukamiva bandhanan mrityor mukshiya mamritat. I said, can you say that last part again? He said, mamritat. I said, ooh. I told him this should be mamritat. This is very interesting. Mahamrityunjaya mantra is a prayer for freedom from what burdens us, freedom from anything that limits us, that binds us, and a prayer for freedom from death, a prayer for immortality. And so in this mantra, when we say bandhanan, bandhanan means bondage. And so in this mantra we're saying, Lord, take away the bondage. But then at the end of this mantra we have one word, amrita. Mrita means death. Amrita means without death. Amrita means immortality. So if we're saying take away the bondage, we've got to say ma, don't take away the immortality. And so in Sanskrit, we should say ma amrita, but with sandhi, in Sanskrit these two come together when a word ends in a vowel and a word begins in a vowel. Those two come together, the vowel sound becomes one vowel sound. So instead of ma amrita, we get ma amrita. However, if we don't say ma, if we say ma, the meaning is different altogether. We don't have amrita, we have mrita. Mrita. So instead of a prayer saying, do not deny from me, Lord, immortality, we get instead a prayer which says, give me a death. So it's a very interesting example of how when just one simple sound is changed, and that's a very simple, very common mistake. All it is that the letter should have been a dirgham, should have been long and not the short vowel. It makes a very big difference in the meaning of the mantra. And so we should keep this in mind. When we chant a different Sanskrit sound, it creates a different color of light in the astral plane. It stimulates a different part of the body. Each of the Sanskrit alphabets stimulates some part of the body. Maybe the shoulder, maybe the upper arm, the lower arm, the hand, the tips of the fingers. And so when we use a different sound, we are stimulating a different part of consciousness. It's having a different effect in the physical world around us, a different effect on the human anatomy. For this reason, we as Western speakers must take extra time to learn the basic Sanskrit sounds. And the Indians in India must pay particular attention when learning a mantra to the proper intonation, the proper pronunciation of that mantra. We shouldn't fear, we shouldn't worry if a practice is done with good intention, saying, Lord, I do this practice for realization, for healing of consciousness, for spiritual consciousness. Please, Lord, bless me as if I've said this mantra perfectly. We will have good results by the grace of God. If we're praying for selfish things, and we need to be much more careful that our pronunciation is precise, or it is possible to come to a situation where we even paralyze ourselves. Yet there's a mystical science. The knowledge of the sages of the sounds of the Sanskrit language shows us that if we want the most powerful effects, we must say the mantra precisely. We've got to do the best we can. We've got to take the time to learn the mantras. It takes extra time to learn the basic sounds. It takes extra time to learn the proper pronunciation. It takes more time still to learn the powerful Veda mantras. Yet people understand that what you put into something, you get out of something. When they want something meaningful, they work very hard. There is no easy pill for enlightenment. There's no quick path, no short path. Yet our efforts are empowered by the practice of mantra. So if we want to empower our practice, we must find a guru, a teacher of the mantra, and learn how to properly chant these sacred, mystical sound frequencies that have been given to us by the ancient sages for the benefit of mankind. We must learn the proper way to use them, proper way to say them, and keep to those recommendations so that the Shakti, the energy of the mantra, builds in our practice, builds in our consciousness, leads us through the subconscious layers of mind to the superconscious layer of mind, where the descriptions of divinity in the scriptures become actual experience. This is the true blessing of a mantra. This is how it heals a person, by moving the consciousness. This is how it gives a person happiness and fulfillment in the world, by moving their consciousness away from the physical, away from the external. It moves it inwardly so that things can be perceived more clearly. This is how the mantra leads a person to realization.